welcome to Season 6 of How I Made It Through. As I've said before, it is often through pain and suffering that we learn our most profound lessons. It is through courageously exploring the inner landscape of our lives and seeking healing that we transform. Joining me this season is my newest co-host, Bernadette Thompson. Bernadette and I invite you to join us now twice a week as we continue to explore the extraordinary stories of those who've had near-death and spiritually transformative experiences, or are simply wise and old souls sent here to help the collective awaken and heal. Our show reminds us that death of the body does not mean death of the soul, and that indeed we do transition into the wonder of the afterlife and come back again and again and again. Our hope is that each episode will serve as inspiration for your own spiritual discovery. We thank you for joining us in this powerful learning and ask that you subscribe, comment, like, and share. Together, we can spread the growing awareness that we are all infinite souls sent to Earth School at this very unique and miraculous time in human evolution. Welcome once again to How I Made It Through. Our guest today is Dale Lawrence, and he has, like all of our guests, otherwise they wouldn't be a guest, he has a remarkable story. And so that you have context, I'm going to go ahead and read the bio, and then we'll launch into the conversation. We have Dale Lawrence here. Dale Lawrence inspires others to unlock their fullest potential, guiding them to live authentically and impactfully in every area of life. He is an internationally celebrated motivational speaker, master coach, and creator of the transformative Heart Wisdom curriculum, business and life guidance learning that empowers individuals to lead with awakened mindfulness, live now presence, and inner truth alignment, employing a unique approach that blends deep spiritual insights with actionable strategies. His seminars and coaching go far beyond surface level motivation, offering transformative tools that inspire genuine enthusiasm for the life we've been gifted and the incredible potential we each carry. Diagnosed with terminal systemic lupus in 1975, Dale has triumphed over numerous life-threatening challenges, multiple heart attacks, a kidney transplant, and emergency open-heart surgery, to name a few. Dale embodies belief, inner strength, and deep purpose. His life mission is rooted in a single powerful focus: help others fully embrace and live the life they've been given with conscious awareness and heartfelt mindful intention. Dale believes that, despite our different paths, we each hold a desire to know ourselves more completely, cultivate our gifts, and transcend perceived limitations. His approach guides clients, students, and audiences on an immersive journey of self-discovery to interweave profound truths with practical applications. Through his guidance, people find real-life solutions, elevate their outlook, and ignite renewed belief in their ability to become who they truly wish to be. His Live Now philosophy, coaching, and the learning curriculum he writes emphasize that true growth can only happen from the inside out, thereby transforming restrictive beliefs and obsolete mental programming into pathways for personally directed life evolution. Dale's message is clear. We all have the power to change our direction, retune our beliefs, and purposefully shape the life and future we are truly excited about living. But sometimes, just sometimes, we need a guide to shine the light, remind us, and show us how. Live Now is more than a motto. It is a call to step mindfully and fully into life, embrace your beliefs and the present, and live a personally inspired course for yourself with mindfully conscious choice and unwavering heart.
I
Beautiful.
want to meet that guy.
I know, he sounds pretty cool, does he not? And so here you are. There's a lot that went into that.
Yeah.
We like to start with the beginning, to what Bernadette was saying before we started recording, the stories of how people made it through. They become the inspirational pathways for others as they're moving through challenge, difficulty, or awakening. Where's a good place to start with? How did you get to here from where you were?
Wow, that's a very hard question because there are so many starting spots for me. I often tell people that, you know, there's not just one start. You can have as many as you want. And if you're aware, you pay attention, or if you become conscious of that, then the starting spot is you can have many. I guess for me, um, one of them, and I don't want to fill your time slot here with all kinds of stories, but one of them to know me better was I was diagnosed with terminal systemic lupus in 75. I'd been out of the military, oh, I don't know, 6 or so months, and went to a hospital after some other consternation with other places, went to the VA hospital in Martinez, California, and sat in front of a gentleman who that took my blood test and looked at me and I wasn't looking good. I had bad skin problems and stuff from the lupus that I had no idea was going on. And at that very same time, um, my girlfriend at that time told me that she was pregnant with my son, Richie, um, who's, of course, my son now. At that time, terrified because I knew that lupus and and babies probably shouldn't go well together or wouldn't go well together. But off to the side that I started to say I was sitting in front of that doctor, and people say there's luck in life, and I say there's guidance that we see or don't see. In this case, I was guided to sit in front of a board certified dermatologist who, believe it or not, had just happened to be studying in detail systemic lupus. And he looked at my blood labs and me and said, "Hey, you've got something that men should not have." Okay, what's that? And he told me that I had systemic lupus erythematosus. And he said, "So I don't want to be the bearer of bad tidings, but you're going to be here for a while." Sorry, it makes me emotional. Um, and here was the hospital. And I said, "What's a while?" He said, "I don't know. You've got something that men shouldn't have that we don't know very much about that usually terminates life. So you'll be here 6 months to whatever happens. We're not sure." So I started that journey, and that actually I spent almost 11 months in the hospital, celebrated my 21st birthday there, which was outstanding. That all being said, it started me on a path of paying more attention, not paying attention, but of becoming conscious of what was going on. Because at that point, when somebody tells you they don't know what to do, all of us in this world, we all have a choice here. We all can make a choice if somebody says, "I don't know what to do." And this is going to sound very cliche, but that would be to figure it out on our own or listen to and believe into what they're believing. And the truth of it is, and I talk a great deal about it in all of my seminars and training, about the management of your belief system. And that's where that all started. But that being said, that was the beginning to answer your question in a very long way, Kristen, is that is the beginning of my journey of full consciousness. I suspect that I had more of it uh, before that was unknown because I was raised in a family of, 5 boys and 2 girls. Um, and I talk about it and how people are raised. And I learned some lessons there, but all of that being said, which those lessons sent me to the military by the time I was 16 and a half, because a judge in Bountiful, Utah said that's where I belong. But that all being said, those are the background pieces of life that create springboards for direction for all human beings. No matter what occurs in our life, and that sounds very strange and convoluted coming from anyone, is that we can go any dang direction we want to go if we become aware of where it is we want to go and then why. So that answers kind of that question, Kristen. I hope that helps.
It helps tremendously. And I know for myself, and I think anyone, we're all so eager to get from where we are to where we want to be.
Mhm.
And that feels like really that's the space you occupy in inspiring people.
Yes. Thank you for
And
saying that. That is what I try to do. Yes.
well, and I also, think that, those core, moments when, you are, given, information about your life that is so profound, which is what it was at that time, that it often awakens us, even in that moment, to know that this path is already going to be different than we expected, and so that it can help us. I don't know, just learning learning more, knowing that there's more, that we have to look at things in a different way.
Open up our mind for the awarenesses that can happen. And I
Correct.
and I talk about that a little bit. I remember, and it's funny, I haven't thought about this in a long time. I kind of wash ugly away from me and use, and this is going to sound good for your audiences because people need to understand that uh, an occurrence creates choices that you can observe. So, fortunately for me, I was raised by my mom and my dad, and they taught me to be, well, sort of aware. But fortunately for me, I was laying there in a hospital bed and thought to myself, what can I do with this? Where can I go with this? What can I do? How can I get out of here? What kind of, and at that point, and we'll get into it maybe at another time, I learned a lot about self healing. And I literally have healed myself of a number of different things by being aware of the choices and the belief system that drives them and the willpower that makes it work.
Let's stay there, self-healing. There's so many people, myself included, who battle autoimmunity, battle complex trauma, and all of these are opportunities and portals for learning. But so many of us feel like, what do I do? Because I feel racked with illness, pain, whether that's emotion or physical. What are some of the tools to be able to do what you're talking about?
Thank you for asking. When I work the seminars, work with people in the seminars or in classes and coaching, I usually have these like 8 things that I work with them on. I don't think we'll have time to go through them all, but one of them, to answer your question partially, is willpower. Um, and it sounds interesting to say willpower for me because I look out there in the planet of humans that we have here, and I think to myself, I wonder how many people are aware of the strength of their willpower. And then to give you grounding on it, you look at some professionals that are very, very successful. They've done a number of things to be successful, but the very first and most important thing that they learn to buy into, excuse me, my voice is fracturing, that they learned to buy into was the strength of their own willpower. And because of that, how it relates to their own future. We're all the architects of our own lives and the future that we're going to live in. So when you become aware that your willpower guides the energy that you put into a decision, into, in this case, healing yourself, into, in this case, visualizing the future that I want to live. When somebody tells you you have a terminal disease, a lot of things go on in the head. For a lot of people, things that go on are, oh my God, I'm gonna die.
Of course.
This is gonna sound very strange, what I'm about to say. I didn't do that. And this will help everybody that wants to learn to heal themselves. I said, "Oh my gosh, where do we go from here? What's the next step? How do I make this better?" And most of this conversation went on in my head because the doctors had no answers on initially. They didn't know. I spent almost 2 years on massive doses of drugs that they won't even hardly use anymore to try to deal with this disease. So willpower and having the willpower to believe and then stand behind the belief with energy that you can get past these things becomes very important. Um, and I don't want to keep sounding like the guy that's diagnosed with everything, but what anybody that knows anything about systemic lupus knows that it hides itself all over the body and does nasty things all over the body. So I had to come to terms with, okay, well, wait a minute. So everybody that's listening to this later on down the road, please write this down. Never, ever again, if you're ill, never try your hardest to not say, I am sick. Marilyn, as you know, Kristin, and as you know, Bernadette has a couple of products out, her books and the I Am Manifestations. And I actually help, talk about them and sell them and etc. But here, listen, every one of you, what you put in your head is what appears in your life. What you put in your head, belief system or otherwise, is what your life actuates on. It becomes what you do. So to strengthen your willpower to believe that what I put in my head is what's going to show up in my body, then I have to learn to put things in there that I can win with. For example, when I was diagnosed with terminal bladder cancer about 6 years ago, I knew immediately there were things I had to do and have to become collaborative. So everybody out there that wants to work on healing themselves, understand it's also, write this down, a collaborative effort. So never again say, I am sick. When you say, I am sick, that includes everything. The body, the soul, the energy, everything in your belief system becomes ill because you're telling it is. The body, this, and some people don't like me to say this. I learned to live this, so I have to say it's my truth. The body is a house that the soul lives in while you're here on a physical plane to gather experiences, to have experiences, to know experiences, to open your heart to them. So don't say, I am sick, because then the body is being convinced by the willpower and the belief system that it's sick. I learned to separate the two. It sounds strange to some others, but what I mean by separate the two is this. I don't say I'm sick. Before the kidney transplant, my kidney was sick. I wasn't. I'm fine. In fact, I'm pretty damn happy. It just happens to be that this house I live in needs a little work. Kind of screwed up. In fact, I make a humor when I talk to the folks oftentimes about it. When God was passing out bodies, because I am who I am, I was out screwing around, running around with my friends. So I got a used one. That's okay. I can use it and move myself forward. So the first thing is never say, I am sick. My body is ill. So try your hardest to do those things. And then again, engage your willpower. People that want to diet is a weak example, but what they do, and the reason there are so many drugs available for people that want to diet, is because people have learned, have almost been taught not to use their willpower, to lean on someone else's decisions. And I oftentimes will say to people, be cautious of what you're putting in your head. Be conscious of what you're putting in your head. Put it in yourself, or others will put what they think should be in your head in your head. So in a relationship to healing yourself, I actually do quite a bit of coaching on this sometimes, and it could go a long time. So we won't do that hard part today. But for example, here's what I tell people oftentimes. When they say, first thing they say, oh man, I have this. I always say, no, you don't. No, you don't. Your body does. So you have a job now. The job is to use your willpower, your strength of mind, and your belief system to help the body heal itself. And I started to say a minute ago, I believe in collaborative healing. For example, I don't throw out all the medicine doctors can supply. I think that's ridiculous. A lot of those people have the heart size of Kansas. They really do want to help people. So some of the things that they put on the table in front of you are only things that they remembered or that they learned. Whatever, like a medicine, for example, if somebody gives me a medication, when I take the medication, I know what it's supposed to do. So I mentally, subconsciously think about the medication doing that when I put it in my mouth. A lot of folks put medicine in their mouth, and it's the way the medical system works, is they just put it in the mouth and hope it gets there. So they use the blanket approach to diagnose, to medicine, to prescribing medicine. So in my case, I put it in my mouth and I think about what is it supposed to do, and then move on throughout my life, throughout my day, throughout my decisions. So in relationship to healing yourself, there's those things that become extremely important in the whole demeanor. You're anchored to the energy that you're going to need to engage past the inner resistance and fear is in your belief system and your willpower. So when you like the cell of a cancer cell, when I had bladder cancer really bad, what I did is I looked up pictures of the kind of cancer cells it was. So I knew. So the mind knew visually through the cortex, which supplies a great deal of information to all the rest of your brain, the visual cortex. And I, by the way, studied the brain a lot because, well, I laid there for a long time and I talked to people and I want to know how the brain works. So I feed the brain a picture. This is what the cell healthy looks like. Feed the brain a picture. This is what a sick cell looks like. And then I concentrate my energy on the one that's healthy. Do you see what I mean? And then
Yes.
when I take medication, my eyes and my mind's eye, my visual cortex, sends a picture to the controller in my brain. It says, we want the medicine to go here. And that's the picture of this screwed up cell. So, and it doesn't have to be a cell. It can be all kinds of things.
Mhm.
So relationship to healing yourself, that's part of it. The other part of it is and I won't lean on it anymore today, is I don't say I'm sick. I, I'm
What
not.
what do you say instead?
I have a lot of weird things I say. So, take it for what it's worth. I've got a flat tire. Um, my body needs some rest. I need to talk to my body for a minute. There's a lot of things that you could say about it instead of I'm sick. My body's unwell. My body has a blah blah blah. My heart has a
Yeah.
mistake on it. In which, when I had emergency open heart surgery, we'll talk about that. That's a story that everybody needs to know. Um, there's all of those things that you can connect the dots. Visualize the health, the wellness of it, not the illness of it.
Yeah. So Dale, so what I
Yeah.
was imagining you were going to say, and I love that it's two sides of the equation, that it's not just my body is struggling and needs a lot more TLC or whatever words because it's tending to that, but it's also when I'm hearing as you're using your visual cortex to imagine a healthy cell, as an example, I imagine that also comes with language saying, I am healthy and whole, or
Yes.
something to that effect. Am I tracking?
Yes. There's a lot of I ams. I teach people to learn to create I ams, to allow them to occur using I am. And Marilyn and I both believe, and I hope I don't turn anything off with anyone, is that I am has a great deal of power and energy.
Mhm.
Mhm.
People I admired, Wayne Dyer, for example,
Mhm.
spent a great deal of time teaching that, Marilyn. And I had the chance to work with him in Vancouver, Canada, 7 or 8 years ago, 9 years ago, something. But I am in me awakens everything. It opens up that mind, and opens up all of the channels to affect your belief system. People, and thanks again, Kristin, for saying visual cortex, because something that humans that we need to realize is that memory is not necessarily what we think it is. It's very often, and you can ask science this, I've done it myself and looked at, searched, is very often, most usually, the brain recalls thought in digital format that oftentimes are pictures. That's how the brain remembers, sees, and stores, and it's in a billion different places throughout your brain, throughout your neural receptors. So I'm sorry, Kristen, I forgot the last part of your question.
No, that's okay, that's okay, this is all really important. It was just also about, the 2 sides of it. It's acknowledging the state of the body, but that the body is not you.
Mhm.
And it's also replacing "I am sick" with "I am well, I am healed, I am" something that is about, much like you're using your visual cortex to imagine healthy cells, you're imagining the life that you want to live.
Mhm.
Seeing it, putting in a place that the
Right.
body can relate to, because everyone needs to remember that the brain learns in pictures. You know,
Mhm.
that's how it learns. And if we start thinking, oh, wait a minute, what picture am I putting in there?
Yeah.
What picture am I accepting? Then alteration occurs. And I want to correct one thing. Not correct. I want to in, instill one thought in people. One of the struggles with healing, especially when we're healing ourselves, is to say I am well, because it creates a conflict
Yes.
with what people have been taught, how they feel, and
Yes.
what they think.
Yes.
So it might be too big of a statement. It,
Mhm.
I can say I
Mhm.
am well now. They can't find any lupus markers in my body at
Amazing.
all. So I know that I don't have systemic lupus anymore. I'm well of that.
Mhm.
Doesn't mean it didn't beat up my body really bad on the way out, but trust me, I won the fight. The reality is um, that statement, I am well, might be too tough, too
Right.
strong, might be too
Yes.
hard to say, might be too hard to believe. So
Exactly.
I don't want people to learn to say things they can't believe. Oh my God, it happens so much, and it hurts my heart so badly to see 1,000 people sitting out there in a seminar, and they all want the magic key.
Yeah.
And oftentimes it hurts my heart to have someone stand up there and say, just say, I am well. Excuse me. That isn't true. Instead, I am becoming well.
You love that.
I am getting well. I see wellness entering into my whatever. Wellness is part of me now.
Yeah.
Believing I am well is huge in growing past it, but believing I am getting better is palatable.
Yes.
We have to deal with people that when I teach and coach and whatever, we have to remember that the people that we're teaching, coaching, and whatever, they're going to need smaller steps on the onset.
Mhm.
Growth occurs in little steps, not giant, it's syringe injections. So in those little steps is where all the life force is where all the growth is. So I am becoming well. I see myself breathing better. I had COVID. I was diagnosed with COVID. Everybody on this call knows what COVID is, because my body has no immune system, because I have a transplant kidney and I have to take anti-rejection medication, which all by itself is an incredible story. It's like God said, you know what, this guy, he'd be a great test pilot for us. Let's put this stuff on him, because I think it's going to work out. And they keep telling, here, try this one out, Dale. You'll get good. Just try it. And I do. And he goes, well, that was really good. So maybe next time. I look at things more humorously than people that have terminal diseases look at them. But I started to say that the heart attacks that people have, and the things that happen to people, um, I see it on the television all the time. The marketing and the advertising and the convincing of our human race that we're all sick, that we have to have all these drugs and medications, and we can't be well or healthy. I see it all the time. And maybe that's why I'm here, is to show people that, yes, you can. You don't have to believe that. Back to willpower. Without willpower, you become just another marshmallow in the bag.
Mm.
That you just are. You're waiting for the other outside solutions. When I was Marilyn said she wanted me to make sure I told everyone the story, and for the people that are listening to this, Marilyn Lawrence is my wife. And
Okay.
on Wednesdays, she's smarter than me. So she'll hear this and she'll come. Um, she wanted me to make sure that everybody got a chance to hear this particular story of healing. There's a couple, three of them, but and it drives right back to the power of a belief system. Before I tell you that story, I don't want to say story. I should say life experience is a better word for it. Try to understand, everybody, that management of your belief system, what you're allowing your belief system to engage in, and what you're putting into your belief system is critical to conscious living. It is absolutely the only real way to have complete control over your own life. That would be to know what's in my belief system, meaning there's all kinds of things in there, wellness, there's all kinds of things in there. But as it relates to um, learning how to be well, you have to feed that to your belief system. It has to be something like breakfast every day. I'm not, and don't misunderstand, I'm not talking about get up in the morning, go on my belief system, although that would help. I meditate. Me and my belief system, we have arguments. I mean, we do. We disagree on things. Now, I'm a Gemini, born on a full eclipse of a full moon on the Taurus cusp. So I tell people all the time, there's 5 of us in here wrestling around. Sometimes these discussions get pretty heavy and deep. But the story that Marilyn wanted me to make sure that I talked about, and it lends well to managing your belief system and accepting what or how can I say that better? Yeah, experiencing the things that are about you, on you, or happening to you. I was working on the road. I was working in Reno, Nevada. I've been now on an assignment there for almost 8 years, almost all 8 years, but except other times. But that being said, I was in bed one night, and I thought I was dreaming, but my father grabbed me by my shoulder, who has been passed away by that time for 8 or 10 years. Said, Dale Warren, and by the way, my dad was a Texan. And when he said your name and your middle name, pay attention. That right there was important. He said, Dale Warren, get up, get up, get up right now. And I thought, what? So I felt my shoulder shake, and he said, Dale Warren, get up. So I got up, and I'm standing in this dark bedroom by myself. I thought, oh my God, that's crazy. I get goosebumps when I think about this. I can't. Then my belief system kicked in and said, wow, my dad came and saw me.
Mm-hmm.
So then I went and called Marilyn. I said, Marilyn, I just had, and it was 3 o'clock in the morning. I said, I just had the weirdest thing happen. And I told her the whole story. And I said, she said, how do you feel? I said, I don't know. I feel kind of weird, but I don't know what's going on. She goes, Dale, maybe you need to go to the hospital. I said, well, long discussion. I got dressed, and then a little later said, no, no. Then I got dressed again. And I said, no, no. And then I got dressed again, drove over to the hospital. It was 4:15-ish in the morning, dark outside, drove up to the emergency room. Not one light on in the building, in the emergency room. I thought, well, that's curious. I've never been to a hospital where the emergency room lights weren't on at night. So I opened the door. It was not locked or anything. I walked in there, and it was pitch black. It was dark. There was nobody in there. The lights were all off. It was the emergency room, the hospital. I thought, well, this is the weirdest thing. So just as I was walking in the door, I started getting a little weirded out. So I started walking down this hall. And as I walked down the hall, I was noting that it was like I was not walking in slow motion, but I could hear my steps echoing in this dark, by myself hallway in a hospital. Now, this is crazy. A hospital, nobody in the hall. So I turned and looked down this other hallway, and way down there was a sign. And I kept reading it and reading it and reading it. And it said, "This could be your ex." And I said, I've never seen a sign that said this could be your ex in
Wow.
my life.
Mhm.
So I thought, oh no. Then I got scared. I thought, oh, okay, this is weird. So I turned around, headed back out to go outside to leave. And just as I got to the door, I dialed Marilyn on the cell phone. Just as I opened the door and I heard this voice said, "You're all right." I looked over my shoulder, and standing behind me at the doors that go like that in the emergency room was a figure. I don't know how tall it was, but it went all the way to the ceiling, and it wasn't solid or anything. Bright white with some goldie around it and everything. I'm going, all right, Lawrence, what's going on here, man? He said, "You're okay. You're going to be all right." And his arm stuck way out and went around the corner and pointed to this door. He said, "I want you to go in there. There's a lady in there. She's going to take care of you."
Mm.
And I said, "Marilyn, there's some really weird stuff going on." So,
Mhm.
okay. So I went in there and I sat down, and the lady, all of this is gospel truth. A lady walked in, a nurse lady, but she had on one of those old time nurse hat lady things.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean? Kind of a,
Yeah, I remember.
I thought,
Nursing
oh
camp.
my,
Yeah,
this
a nursing cap.
kind of cool. Nurse with a nursing cap. I'm thinking, nothing's dawning on me right now. Oh, this is pretty cool. La, 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 la. So she said, "Look, we need to take your blood pressure, and you're going to be okay. Everyone's going to take care of you. Everybody loves you. You're going to be all right." I said, "Okay. It's kind of weird for you to say that, but okay." To shorten this a little bit, that she took my blood pressure and had a gurney come and put me on there and drove me into the intent ICU or whatever they call that in the emergency room. Laid there for a little while, and the next thing I remember, it was 4 o'clock in the afternoon. They had me at another hospital, and a surgeon standing there saying, "Look, Dale, you're going to be all right. We're going to get you through this." And then I woke up the next day, and what they had told Marilyn is my all the markers showed up for my heart attack at about 2 o'clock in that afternoon, and by 4 they had me in surgery. But almost all of the veins in my heart sealed off at one time, at the same time. And as the doctor said, we've never seen that. So we got to watch it. It was incredible. And then they hooked me up. Anyway, long story short, they saved my life. Um, but the next 14 days were incredibly strange. It was like, if you've seen the movie Groundhog Day,
Mhm.
it's what it was for me for 14 days. I wake up in the morning, it's like, oh my God, what's going on? I couldn't believe it. But um, I had incredible experiences. And one of my past life experiences that occurred, Bernadette, was that I recognized was during that time
Mhm.
when, because my transplant had shut off and they didn't know it because of the heart lung machine, it turned off. So
Whoa.
they were pumping me with morphine every 2 hours, and I didn't have any way to filter it. So it was actually overdosing me by a massive amount. Um, and it gave Marilyn said it just gave me visions, but then she said, no, I think that's what happened. At any rate, it was the scariest past life experience I have ever had. And I don't even like to think about it too much, but
Mm.
it was the dark side of the decision. I got a chance to see that. So
Well, it's amazing the story of uh, your father coming to you. And, that is something that, people talk about, that when they are in trouble, that sometimes they do have a loved one that will come to them, and just give them. And just as you shared, the story is amazing. Like you're telling it like no one's going to believe this, but this all really happened. And so it is, it was amazing story.
thank you. What I want people to take from that, and I don't want anyone, and when I teach and do seminars and things like that, I don't want anybody to take away that I want some sort of special accolades because that happened. What I want people to take away is that allowing your belief system to interplay in your life can do miraculous things. What that means is attempting to remove the judgment of your decisions, because the reality is that all judgment in all of our lives are things that we learned.
Mhm.
We judge because we learned to judge. Now, we judge negatively because we learned to judge negatively. We judge doubtfully because we were taught what someone else believes is right and what someone else believes is wrong. Now, it's be really easy to take a very negative stance on what I just said. But what I like to people to understand is, um, let me put it this way. My father was born in 1919, part Cherokee, Texan, and in Texas, if you weren't 100% Texas, when you were a white boy, when you were born, it was trouble, especially for him. He raised 5 boys. He went through the World War. He was in it. He survived past unbelievable things. What's he going to teach his sons? Isn't he going to teach his sons the things that he learned? Eat everything on your plate. You don't know where your next meal is coming from. Don't talk back. Da, 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 da. All of those things were things he learned from his father, who was born in the 1840s. And he learned his stuff from his father. So take nothing negatively away from this. Understand that negativity creates an opportunity for beauty to shine. It creates contrast.
Right.
Without contrast, you can't have beauty. You can't have joy. You can't have much of anything without its negative partner. Not, no, take that away badly. It's only a partner in the yin and yang observation. It's
Right.
been around about 20,000 years, so I don't know if I believe it or not.
So Dale, this story is so extraordinary of being woken up, driving to the hospital, all the lights are out, the encounters that you had. You are telling us how powerful it is when we have these experiences, what we choose to believe. What is the story you choose to believe about that experience?
Thank you for asking that. Um, and by the way, I'm not asked it that often, so I very much appreciate it. Um, that I have a bigger assignment, that I have more to do. I needed to learn, because when I was a teenager growing up, I don't want to sound bad, but I was not a good boy, not by any stretch of imagination. And that's why I was told to join the army, but didn't have a choice. So I, the choices that come out of that, to look forward and say, wait a second, I do have something else to do. That sign that showed up down there, I use in my conversations a lot. This can be your exit. And I've seen it a number of times, not the sign, but that opportunity. It comes to the place where choice becomes part of your life.
Mm.
Conscious choice, choosing the things that you've been awoken to. When I finally got out of the hospital, in Reno, again, excuse me, my voice is messed up today. They let me out way too early. I was 14 days in there, and they just wanted me out of there. So they sent me home, and thank God for Maryland. And I said, Michael, because I was not ready to be home. But the long and the short of it is I looked at that as an opportunity to move forward because I knew that I was saved, not saved, that I survived for a specific reason to move forward.
Mm. Mm. It's beautiful. That's beautiful.
Well, even I was going to say, even just sharing your story is one of the reasons, because it is an incredible story, and it is how we are cared for from the other side, as we are challenged in this lifetime, and so it's just beautiful.
Mhm.
Well, quite frankly, and thank you, Bernadette, that you're as alone as you believe you are.
Right.
Mhm.
Right.
If you're completely and desperately alone, then you quite frankly are.
Well,
Because
that's exactly right.
yeah, because that's what your belief system is now telling
Yes.
willpower.
So we're very close to the end. Time goes by so quickly, but this idea of never being alone and how these experiences inform so many relationships, including spiritual relationships. So there was that tall being, white with the gold, and the nurse with the old-fashioned nurse cap. I hear it, and I don't want to supplant my interpretation on top of yours because yours matters most. But spirit guides, your father, going back to Bernadette's work with the ancestral healing, an ancestor. So they are all this committee supporting you, is how I hear it. But are you still in relationship with the flapping doors, the white and the gold and the nurse?
Um,
Where is that gone?
uh, I not necessarily in that particular way, uh,
Mhm.
but what it did do is even infused more in my belief system of what is and what is not is a very thin line.
Yeah, oh, I love that.
It is very thin because the veil between it is as dark as what people have taught you it is.
Yeah. Oh, that's I just got chills. That was beautifully poetic and
Thank you.
spot on, spot on. All right. Well, as we transition, speaking of transitioning to ending this conversation, when you do cross over, what do you want your time here to have meant?
Wow. Uh,
The big one.
oh, I know, but and this is going to sound obscure, but I think about that quite a lot. As a matter of fact, for you manly men who I hope listening to this, you might want to put that in the back of your mind somewhere is what do I want to leave? What kind of footprint do I want to leave? And the one I want to leave, and ladies, we could spend 2 hours with me explaining why, but is I want to leave the footprint for definitely my sons and all of my nieces and nephews and the people that I love and the people that I don't know that that everything is possible. And everybody always says everything is possible. I get this weird song that goes off my head when I say that. Everything is possible. The reality is, it is. How do I know? I've been in the dark. I've been in the light. I want people to take from what I bring to this planet a better spot for their own lives, a better way, not better that theirs is bad, better that they can improve it, better that than because they can love more.
Mm.
They can They can enjoy more. They can wrap their mind and their heart and their beliefs around the reality. The reality is you're here for the experiences. And I want you to know that you're in control of them. And I want you to know that you can have any experience you decide. And I want you to know that changing your life starts with opening your heart wisdom
Yeah.
and allowing your heart wisdom to be part of it again. That's what I want to leave.
Great. Beautiful. Beautiful. Keep forgetting to say it, and we're at the end of the show. Like, subscribe, share, because when you hear a message like that, that just needs to be multiplied and multiplied. Dale, how do people find you?
Marilyn and I work together on a lot of things. Most people know Marilyn's a very, very accomplished author and intuitive. But our website, justbreatheretreats.com, is a great place to engage with us. If you want to talk to me personally, I'll give you my email address, which is dlspeakercoach@gmail.com. And one of the courses that we teach, we actually, believe it or not, ladies, teach courses for people to learn how to do all of these things. It's called the 28-day sculpting challenge. And the website is the 28-day sculptingchallenge.com. Perfect. Those are the ones.
Thank you, Dale Lawrence, for these miraculous lessons.
Bernadette, Kristin, thank you. What an opportunity. And you're doing wonderful things for any number of whoever it is that consciously engages in what you're doing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
How I Made It Through is produced and distributed by EIQ Media, LLC. Elevate your emotional IQ with podcasts and content focused on overcoming adversity, leadership, mental health, entrepreneurship, spiritually transformative experiences, and more.